Hello, everybody. Today is another session with AIOps Explained. We're going to install the Cloud Pak today, version 4. We're not going to do it via the documentation, not with a hand. We're having a big help. The big help is one, Niklaus. He has a big asset built in Git. That's what we're going to demonstrate today, how to make an easy installation. For that, I'd like to introduce Niklaus. So, Niklaus, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
So, Niklaus is part of the tech sales team. He's located in Switzerland. I'm located in Berlin. You know me already from all the other videos and maybe one or two sales sessions that we had already together. Today's agenda is we are starting with you as a customer or a business partner, and you have obtained licenses because you bought the product, or you're a business partner and have license entitlement. What do you do next? So therefore you want to start as soon as possible an installation. How do you do that? So usually you would open the documentation and start reading. Well, that's a good start, and there's no way around that. So you really need to open the documentation and read it. But there are easier ways, and the easier way we're going to talk you through is today via Nick's installation part, which he's going to introduce in his session. Usually when you start an installation, you should think about what do you want to install. So is it a demo installation? Is it a training installation? All that influences the type and the components and the layout and the hardware demand. So if you're going for a production installation, that's not what we're going to talk you through today. We're going to show you how to set up a demo training environment. So quite easy, canned, straightforward, very easy to install, very quick to install. But that's not suitable for a productive installation. So therefore, if you want to do that kind of thing, introducing high availability, security requirements, and all these kind of things, there are a lot of things to consider. For example, if you want to do console installation, or if you want to use the command line interface, or if you're in an air-gapped installation, then you need to create a Bastion host, install the software, all that, and install from the Bastion host into your environment. So there are lots and lots of options, as well as we do have hybrid installations. So quite a lot of flavors and possibilities. If you're not a totally new customer and want to include your existing Netcool installation, that's something which is a hybrid installation. We do have a different video already recorded this week, which I'm going to publish very soon together with Zane, how to connect an existing Netcool installation with a freshly installed AIOps installation, what to expect from it, what are the first steps, what should you do in that kind of environment. And that's what we want to do. So therefore, lots and lots of things to understand. So is it a start or a production installation, the installation types, what kind of packages do we need? So it's quite a lot of stuff that you need to understand before you're capable of installing the software. There's a training class also available, an installation training, also an administration training, which I'm going to introduce you after the demo. But before we do all that, let's talk a little bit about the portfolio that we have. So we are part of the IBM IT automation portfolio. So if we start from left to right, these are products which are used very commonly together. So doing application performance management, we as IBM do have quite a history with several products. Our current strategic product is Insana. That is the enterprise observability stack in that environment, but we're not limited to just monitor and observe IT environments. We also have capabilities of network management, that's performance management, discovery, configuration management. This is Ceph1 and a couple of more products in that environment. We're also in a position to really look after your installation, your virtual or cloud-based installations, evaluate if they are cost effective, if they are economic, and this is going into the direction of FinOps. So in that kind of environment, we do have mostly two products placed, which is Turbonomic, which is doing the execution piece, the actual optimization, and we do have the AppTio piece, which is one of our latest acquisitions That is where the FinOps part comes into the play, where it gets really interesting. But that's not the topic of today. Today we're going to install the Cloud Pak for AIOps, and therefore we're here on the right side, Cloud Pak for AIOps. That's what we want to do. There's also a very young SaaS version, which is called IBM AIOps Insights. This is not so feature-rich as our Cloud Pak at the moment, but we are working on it to make it more and more feature-rich over the time. From a scheduling perspective, at the moment, we're releasing the Cloud Pak in a monthly schedule, and the AIOps Insights gets renewed with new features every 2 weeks. That's what we do. And from a story perspective, we do have here on the left side lots of various ingestion points, events and alerts, metrics, so that's time series data, performance data, topology data, log data, ticketing data. All these are various streams, structured and unstructured data, which are pouring into an AIOps installation of the Cloud Pak. The Cloud Pak itself is taking all that from various data sources, is able to receive all the data, store the data, visualize the data, and then make a comprehension of that. So what belongs together? Where do we have faults in our environment? Where is something going wrong? What could you possibly do around that? That's what we do within the Cloud Pak, and give you also the tools after you've seen what's going wrong, what's impacted in that environment. We also want to give you the possibilities to rectify these problems. So therefore, this is what we call augmented operations, and that's what we do. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Nick. Over to you.
Let me share my screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you have it in the presentation from Fred. You had the link to my GitHub, to my public GitHub page, where I have published all the scripts to set up basically a complete pre-trained and demo instance of the Cloud Pak for AIOps. What you find in here is really all the documentation, the walkthroughs, the how to get there, and so on and so forth. And I will just quickly walk you through that. But before I begin, there's the disclaimer. I have to say that. So this is provided as is. That's not an official IBM product. That's something that I've been doing for myself to facilitate my demoing for my job. But it's being used pretty wildly and widely at IBM now. So it is as is. All feedback is welcome. If you find bugs or stuff that I can improve, please contact me. Now, as Fred said already, this is for a non-production installation. So that's purely for demo environments. Don't install that and use that for production environments. Okay, so what you want to do is you go into quick install. Okay, so we have the quick install. You have a whole complete script on how to demo the solution with a quick video. So it really walks you through where to click, what to say, what to show to a potential customer. You have everything in here. Okay, then you have the explanation of the demo setup, what I'm doing, and so on and so forth. We'll be starting with the preparation, so the prerequisite. So first you need an OpenShift cluster. Okay, what is it? 4.14 OpenShift is the thing to go with for the time being. For partners and IBMers, you can get those on TechZone. I'll show you that in a second. It's pretty beefy what you need. You can get away with less than 5 worker nodes. I tried it with 4. It's working. With 3, you get a little bit tight, but you have to have already a pretty beefy cluster here to install that. Everything described what you have to select, but let me show you what we would do here. Okay, so let's open TechZone. So here you go directly to what we call the TechZone certified base images. And by the way, I already have them open here, so I can show it here. So you go to VMware. So again, everything's described in the GitHub. If you go through the documentation, you will get here. And usually I use this UPI public. Don't use the deployer, just use the simple UPI public. You click on that and your reservation process starts. So you probably want to reserve that for right now. And then you have to get some parameters right. I usually call that UPI 01020 something. Copy that over, and then you have the choice. You can use that for practice and self-education. In that case, you get something like 3 days, and you can prolong it by 4 more days or something. You get the policies when you click on it. You can do test. That's probably, I think, just 1 or 2 days. For those, you don't need sales opportunity numbers. If you want to do customer demo proof of technology, I think you can get slightly over 40 days, 40. So purpose description, usually I put in the same. Practice self-education is good to start toying around. Geography, it's up to you. I usually use London 6. That's in the Europe region. That's for me at least the fastest one. So slightly faster than Frankfurt for pulling all the images and starting that. The end date usually it's set to the max that you can reserve. Don't touch the network and the FIPS. OpenShift 4.14 is good. What I usually choose is ODF 5 terabyte. The managed NFS is working. It's not officially supported as of the documentation. NFS as a storage type, but you can choose that. It is a little bit nicer on the footprint of your cluster that you're spinning up on TechZone. But if you want to have a reliable backend, choose ODF, which is officially supported by Cloud Pak for AIOps. Don't touch the service network. Here we will choose 4 or 5. And then here you have to select 32 vCPU and 128 gigs. And once you have that, so you have to take that out of the way, you have to agree to all the terms and policies, and then you say submit, and it will start up the reservation. That can take between 25-30 minutes up to an hour sometimes. It depends on how big the load is. And once it's done, you can click here on my reservation, and you will see that I have my new reservation spinning up. And I have 2 other ones. I have one for a customer that's running, so that this would be this one here. And I have this UPI 44, which is a test environment which will expire in 4 hours. So what you can do afterwards, once it's provisioned, when it's ready, you can click here and say extend, and then you choose how much you want to extend. You can see you can extend it twice by 2 days. So you get a total of like 5-6 days to play around with. Advantage is, as you can do that automatically with my scripts, it doesn't matter. If you have a demo coming up for a customer, you can just spin up a cluster, set it up. It literally takes 15 minutes of your time, if ever, and 2 hours of wait time where you can go grab a coffee, and afterwards you're good to go with a deterministic, always the same demo in a box that you can use to demo the things. So once it's ready, you will go in here, click on the little blue arrow, and then you get the details to connect to your OpenShift cluster. Takes a second. Here we go. So you have username, password. Click on this here, and you get to OpenShift. I'm already logged in here, so you have to log in with kubeadmin and the password, and then you get in here. So you won't have this green bar here because I've already installed it in this environment. I don't have an empty environment for the demo because I want to show it to you afterwards quickly. You wouldn't have that. You will just have a vanilla, empty OpenShift environment. Now we want to do something with that. So let me go back to the documentation. So what we'll do, so you see you have all the documentation here on how to get your cluster. So we go to quick install. You have basically a GIF here that shows you what to do. That's the no words, no sound version of what I'm doing, what I'm showing you here. So what you probably want is this install AIOps with demo content. We have one for Turbonomic for Instana, which is experimental, the containerized version, but what you want is this IBM AIOps. So basically you need 5 steps, which is not much. Huh? In the OCP web UI, click the plus sign. Let me put that next to it. So let's click this plus up here on the right top side. So you can paste in some code. Next, copy and paste the content from this file. So that would be this one here. So that's a file part of the repository in the quick install directory. And that contains basically, that creates a config map for the ones who are familiar with Kubernetes, which contains all the configuration that we will apply to our installation. So what you will do, you will copy that. I will paste that in here. Now I have to change some things in here. And what does the documentation say? So first I have to get the registry token. So that is your license key, your license token. And you get that from myibm.ibm.com. Basically, you go in here, you have a product, you have your container software and entitlement, view library, and you get here your license key. So I won't put that in here. So let's say the registry token, and you paste that in, you get something like your key here. Okay. Next thing, you have to change your global password. So that's the password that will be used everywhere. For the demo web UI, for logging in the first time into your Cloud Pak, for the LDAP that will be installed, and so on and so forth. Usually I put something like this, doesn't really matter. And what you can do as well is you can choose your environment name. By default, it's called Bear. You can put in Batman or Arya. Let's put in Arya from Game of Thrones. And you have, by the way, if you look down here, you have the characters you can choose from with the little images that will appear afterwards in the demo. Once we have that, copy the file, replace the registry token, and put in a default password and change the name if you like. You just say create. I won't do that because I already have it. And then it will create a certain number of things. But let me perhaps just repaste it in. No, that's the ARIA thingy. Sorry, I wanted to show you what you can do on the configuration side. So you can configure the hell out of it, like the version that you want to install for AIOps. Then we can say what if you want to pre-train the different models, if you want to install topologies for the demo application, if you want runbooks with AWX, and so on and so forth. So what is being installed is basic Cloud Pak for IBM AIOps, the catalog operator and the instance, and then that's just a nude, if you like, a vanilla empty environment. You can do that by setting, just to show you that, you can set the demo content to false here, and you will just get an empty installation. After the demo content, we'll install an open LDAP and we'll register it with the Cloud Pak. We'll install AWX, which is basically the open source Ansible tower with playbooks that we can run then through runbooks, through runbook automation. It will create, load, and train the AI models for temporal grouping, for log anomaly detection, for similar incidents, for what else, for metric anomaly detection, and so on and so forth. We'll load some applications with topology, and that's basically the big lines that we get. So we get the complete, in a box, one cluster system with everything we need to demo the whole thing. Once you click save here, it will start up a pod, for the ones again who know it, and you will get up here a blue bar, okay, and then down here a progress bar that tells you what it's doing at the certain moment. So you get the logs for the installer, and it will tell you exactly what it's doing, and you can follow along and so on. And then in the end, when it's done, you will get this green bar, and we'll get a link to the famous demo UI. So the demo UI with the password, the one that you've chosen, if you click on it, you go to a centralized UI that I developed where you can log in. So I'm already logged in. You would log in with the password that you defined. And here you have different options. So first you can access the AIOps instance. So if you click here, you will open Cloud Pak for AIOps. You would have to log in again. So you would log in as we're using LDAP, an LDAP integration with a live LDAP. You would select Enterprise LDAP, username is demo, and the password again is the password that you defined in the back, and you log in with that, and you come here to your IBM Cloud Pak. So there's a lot of customization going on, like with the create incidents, with the links to the demo app. So for example, here you can branch out, well, to RobotShop. If it were running, I've been playing a little bit with it. Sorry about that, or SockShop, that should work. So you have all those demo apps that are really running physically in the background where you can go through, and you have them here also in this third-party tab, RobotShop, SockShop, this AWX, the Ansible Tower instance, and the LDAP if you want to go there. Okay, now where it gets interesting is, and let me perhaps jump back here for a second and explain you what I'm doing. So basic Cloud Pak for AIOps, we have different things. We have log anomaly detection, where you can stream logs and it detects anomalous log lines, which will give us events. We can stream in just basic events coming from an Instana, from a router, whatever. And we can stream in metrics, and we can train models to detect anomalous metrics, which create events. All those events from log anomalies, metric anomalies, or that are just streamed in, create, and that's not called story anymore. We have to change that. It's called an incident now. So that creates a bundle of information that's called an incident that contains all those different informations here, plus topology, plus similar incidents. So I will show you what that means, but just to give you an idea, what I'm doing here is basically I'm training, the scripts are training the ServiceNow tickets, the logs, and the metrics that by directly injecting very low level those data into Elasticsearch and Cassandra database and so on and so forth. That's so that we can train on that. However, when I click, and let me go back here, when I create an incident, so for example, for Robot Shop, I'm really simulating that in a as realistic way as possible. So I'm not doing anything low level. So I'm injecting real logs, but faulty logs into AIOps. So it will detect live log anomalies. I detect bad metrics that I'm injecting into AIOps. So it will detect real metric anomalies. That's not just something that we're creating out of thin air. And we're streaming some predefined events that are being grouped with that. So training is being done as efficiently in low level as possible, but the simulation, the inception of incidents is being done as close to what you might find at a customer. If I go back here, so I can create an incident, for example, for Sock Shop. So the most interesting one will be Robot Shop, but I already have that and I will show you that. But just to show you for Sock Shop, for example, I click on that, it's running for a second in the background, then it's coming back. So now it's just starting to inject metrics and logs and stuff like that. We have the same, for example, to simulate a fire in the London underground, and you will see what comes out of that. So if I go back, and I just opened several parts here for the Cloud Pak. So let me just walk you through some interesting parts. So for the integrations with other systems. So I have an integration with Ansible for the runbooks, okay? So it pulls in all the playbooks, the Ansible playbooks that we can use as runbooks afterwards that are predefined. I have a Kafka integration to stream in the logs, the anomalous logs, and the metrics are going through a REST interface that I don't have to specifically define. Then for the different models, here what is coming pre-trained is the temporal grouping, similar tickets and change risk. So those are tickets that are coming from today from ServiceNow, and you will see what that does. So we're training on that with natural language processing, and we can say, hey, the problem, the incident that I have looks like a problem that we had in the past, and in the past we did solve it by doing this and that. Okay, so that helps you to reduce your MTTR, your mean time to resolve, the time your system gets back up, as short as possible time frame, by giving you hints on how we resolved similar problems in the past. Then we have the metric anomaly model that detects metric anomalies, and the same for the logs. Okay, so those are getting pre-trained. Then we also have in the automation, so we have what we call policies, where you can, for example, integrate. We can integrate with netcall systems. We can say, how do I create incidents, for example? How do I group some events, and so on and so forth? How do I automatically launch runbooks? There's a lot more. That's just the ones that are being created automatically. And then we get our actions as well. So those are actions that we have defined that are coming, as you can see here, directly from our Ansible system. So from AWX, they're being pulled in. And we can then define runbooks that can be run to either, in this case, create those incidents if I want to do that by runbook, or to clear the incidents afterwards, and we will see that in a second. As of the topology, so we pre-create some applications. So for example, Robot Shop or Sock Shop. So those are applications that are predefined with the dependencies. So for example, I can see here that my front end is calling the users element, the cards that are calling orders, that are using databases, that are running on some VMs, that are using switches, and so on, they're running in the data center, and so on and so forth. Okay, and I can see that I have an outage here. That's an active incident that I've created before when I clicked on the Sock Shop problem, and you can see where it's located with the switch apparently. So I have a switch outage that affects a port and the database in the end. And we'll see that in detail when I go into my incident. Let me refresh that. So here I get all my incidents. So you can see here I have my switch outage that I had before. But what I want to show is the most interesting one is this one here for Robot Shop, just to walk you through quickly what you can expect and what you can see. First thing that I see is here the probable cause alert. Cloud Pak for AIOps has a mechanism to detect and to tell you, I think that the problem, the incident that you have, is caused by those 3 top signals that I got. So I had a commit in a repository apparently, so a code change, because a problem that you have an incident is 90% of the time is caused by something that has changed, a code change, a configuration change, whatever. So here I have a commit, so code change. Then I have a database that's still responding, and I have an erroneous call here. And you can see here that where we have runbooks, it's automatically attaching runbooks that I can run right now if I like to mitigate the problem or to try to mitigate the problem. So that's the first thing. Next, I can see that in this case, I already created the Slack story. So this incident gets pushed out through Slack to a ChatOps way of working into Slack, so I can work on Slack. And I also open the ServiceNow incident if I'm more on a classic ETL-based workflow and operations model, okay? And those famous similar past resolution tickets, so those are tickets from the past that have been identified that might be similar. So when I click on this one here, I branch out to ServiceNow. And what's important to understand is those are not live systems. As you can see here, those are pre-canned pages of a real ServiceNow ticket that we created in the past. It's really just for demoing to say, okay, that would be the incident that has been identified as being similar. And I get, for example, my resolution information here that tells me what I have done back then to get my stuff back up working. For the demo, I can also go into the related records and click here on the change, and I can see that the whole thing was a problem of a still ongoing change that hasn't been closed to reduce the footprint of the MySQL service. So it might be very probable that something has happened in my MySQL definition that made that MySQL isn't coming up again. If I go back here, probably I would launch the runbooks to make sure to be able to mitigate the problem as quickly as possible. But what I will be doing first is just dive in a little bit, and I can see in topology where my problem really lies. So I can see that I have a problem with the MySQL database. I can click on that. I can see the alerts, the resource detail. I could see it in detail. You see it branches out into the topology viewer. So here I can see it in detail, what's happening. And what I can do as well is in this resource management, I have this, this topology here. I have saved that, and I can go in there and have a look at it. And I can even go as far as check that on the map view. If I have geolocation data, I can locate on the map where my problem spots are. Okay, so apparently I have some problems in Zurich, in the Zurich data center, and some problems in the Bern data center in Switzerland. So I can click on that. I can see that I have a problem with my MySQL database. Go in there, get all the information, see my resources that are connected, my ratings resource, the location, and so on and so forth. So I can really dive deep into where is my stuff running that's failing, how are they interconnected, what are the dependencies, and really get the good idea on what's happening. But most interesting would be the alerts view. So in the alerts view now, I get a view of what actually happened in this incident. What were the different signals that were grouped together and Cloud Pak for AIOps thinks are part of this one incident. For the demo, obviously it's very nice. Give you that, but if we put it in with your current tab, apparently first we had a GitHub commit. Okay, so someone made the change. I have a link here to the commit itself. Okay, so someone changed the buffer size from 8 gig to 1 gig. So reduced the footprint. They made a change. It got picked up by the Jenkins pipeline. So again, we have the link to the Jenkins pipeline. All of those things, again, are static web pages. Don't try to go further than that, but it illustrates very nicely what you might show on a live system. Then we have an Argo CD, which is a container-based deployment system where we have this one running. You can see here for the robot shop application. And I can see, for example, that MySQL is still trying to spin up, and I have a problem in here because, again, I changed the footprint for the MySQL database. Then we have some metric anomalies. So, for example, the metric usage that's going up to 100%. So I can, let me just expand the chart. It's much nicer, so I can really have a good look at what's happening and zoom in here. I can see that my percentage usage of the database memory peaks to 100%. I can correlate that, for example, with the transactions per second, the pod restarts that I had, so the restarting of the application or of the database. It won't let me zoom in. Come on, here we go. And you can see it that the restarts have gone up. So it was continuously restarting. The transaction per second went to 0 and the memory usage went to 100%. Like that, I can really correlate and understand what happened on my metrics side as well. If I go back to the incidents and alerts, let's just wrap this up. So I have my anomalies. Then Instana has seen, oh, by the way, Instana has seen that there has been a change. Okay, again, this NODB buffer pool change has changed. That's coming from Instana, so from the APM. Database is not responding, coming from here. I have an error in the logs, in the ELK, so from ELK, so I get a database error from SQL state, get Instana issues, then I have functional verification problems, and in the end, I get an Instana incident, and we can have a look at that again. Static pages, saved out from Instana, but very good to show what's happening. So I have a problem on ratings with an increase in the number of erroneous calls, has been grouped together with the call rate that's too high in ratings, database not responding from ratings, and then MySQL that's being offline after the change has been detected. You can really go out and explain and understand the events that have happened and the timeline of the events that have happened to lead to this outage that you have at hand. Now, what I would do basically is I would go in here. The robot job application, if you create the incident, is really not running. So, well, it's running, but you don't get the ratings for your robots. And then we can start this runbook. So click Start Runbook, Run, and it will kick off a playbook in Ansible that will physically correct the problem. So if you have time to wait out that this playbook runs, you will be able to show to a customer that robot job is back with the ratings. Christmas basically saved. You will sell a lot of robots because you get your ratings back. So you can see it's mitigating the problem. So let me just say it did work and all is good. And then you can come back here. You could resolve your incident now here. That's the idea of incident management. So you get the incident, you say you start working on it, you try to understand what happened. You can use the run books to mitigate it. If it doesn't mitigate, you can go into the topology, into the alerts to understand what has happened. And last but not least, what I wanted to show you is to see over time your performance. As you can see, how was your mean time to restore, how long it took to acknowledge, how long it took to repair. Obviously, it's very long because it's a demo system, so the acknowledge time is a bit long, but you would see here how long to acknowledge, how long to repair per incident, what the noise reduction is, like from 500 events, we go down to 30 incidents, so we have almost 95% noise reduction. What's the runbook usage, how many of those are automated, what's the incident activity, and in a non-production use, we have also the estimated cost of the outage. So we can say per application, per component, what's the business criticality and what's the price of an outage per hour or per minute of this application or of this component. So that gives you an estimation, pretty nice estimate of what cost you might have. And all of that, again, is done simply by using those scripts. So you get your file, you get your registry token, you change your password, and you put that in the cluster that you got on TechZone or anywhere else. Paste it in, go grab a coffee, come back after 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and you get exactly what I showed you, except that you have a running robot shop application in the back that I didn't today. And that's basically it from my side. Fred, back to you.
Thank you, Nick. That was a fantastic overview. I guess business partners will appreciate the work you have done, as well as IBMers, technical sales. Maybe also an IBM sales is taking the challenge and installs such a demo environment for themselves and gets along with the product. That would be really cool. We do have those lovely badges for achieving anything within that kind of environment. Maybe, why not? So thanks, Nicholas. Let's conclude today's video after this demo. Of course, we do have documentation available. So we've just released version 4.4 of the Cloud Pak. 31st of January, I was the very last day. Here it is. If you are installing the product, then you would open the chapter here, installing, and then the first one is planning, and then you go into the various flavors and what to do and have a read. After that, we do have more. So if you do have open questions, we do have the community. All you need is an IBM ID, and it's available to everybody. It's very happy to have everybody here joining the whole thing. Then there is training and certification available. This is the learning path. So you can see in IBM training and certification, here is a link, it's a curriculum. In here is an assembly of online courses, which are available to everybody, as well as there are links to the 2 classroom-based trainings that we have. The first training is the installation class. Here it's ITST in 403G, and the second one is the AIOps administration class, ITST in 404G. There's additional stuff here on the Git repos. So for example, Gem in a Box is one of those assets, like Nick's asset that we just showed you. Then there's also available a certification. So if you really want to show your skills and earn a badge, of course, then this is what you can do. These certifications are available via Prometrics certifications, which are IBM acknowledged certification test centers, as well as we do have on our trade shows like Think or all the other ones. We do offer free of charge certifications, and if you do it at Prometrics, there's some kind of charge involved. Feel free to show what you know and earn this lovely administrator badge. And then we do have the video collection, which is published on YouTube. So it's in the IBM support channel, IBM Helps. In there, we do have collections of different flavors and sources. Of course, there's a part for the AIOps Explain channel. We talk about all the various things, how to get stuff installed, what is a specific part of the product. We give introductions into what is the product in general going to achieve, as well as we do have these kind of deep dives in various specific bits and pieces. Very helpful. Look around for the second part of this video, which is the what to do next. So NOI plus AIOps equals to what? Enhance and scale the value of your existing netcool estate with IBM Cloud Pak for AIOps. And that is taking you from an existing netcool installation via installing a new AIOps package, and then how to connect these two into a hybrid environment. So what kind of steps do you need to undertake to get these two environments connected and working together? So for example, the omnibus connector, the impact connector, how to connect probes, all things, the user interfaces, all that is explained in there. So, and with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today. That's about it. Thank you, Niklaus. Thank you, everybody, for your time you spent, and see you another time. Bye.